This is very similar to Drago, same last, same shape, but way more supportive. So the new Chimera is just coming to market this fall. So the Chimera is in our specialized performance line. I think the easiest way to think about this shoe is the stiffer, more supportive version of a Drago. So it shares a lot of the same technology as a Drago, just with obviously a different closure system and a much more substantial underfoot support than you would find in the Drago. So the Chimera has always been positioned in our line as our high-end shoe, mainly for competitive sport climbing and outdoor sport climbing because of its feature set with the laces, a little bit more underfoot support, but it's great for bouldering as well, indoor or outdoors. So sport climbing, bouldering, indoor or outdoors, but for sure more pointed towards high-end steep sport climbing. So the new Chimera, definitely quite a few updates besides just the cosmetics. It has a brand new upper, as you guys can see, that looks like a little bit of polka dots on here. We're calling that Hyperskin, which is basically a coated micro-suede. So these white polka dots are actually the micro-suede underneath showing through the coated material. There's going to be very minimal stretching from the time it's brand new out of the box until it's ready to be resold or ultimately retired. We want this shoe to retain its performance characteristics and custom fit throughout the life of the shoe. So that Hyperskin does a really good job at controlling stretch and maintaining precision and performance throughout the whole life of the shoe. A couple other things that we added is the PAF heel system, which we've been incorporating in most of our shoes when we can, which is our pressure absorbing fit, which just alleviates a lot of pressure directly off of the Achilles tendon, which is really important for a shoe like the Chimera because typically people size this pretty aggressively. So having a little bit more comfort, especially against the Achilles tendon, is super critical. Another really good update that we did was this lace garage at the top. This is a really stiff coated material. The original version just used a piece of basically webbing and micro-suede right there. So if you really tighten that up too much, it could cause a little bit of deformation and maybe get a little bit of bagging up and folding of materials right there. So this lace garage you can barely bend. So no matter how tight you crank this over your instep, it's not going to deform. It's not going to cause any discomfort by causing creases or folds in the upper material, and a really good secure system. We didn't incorporate the soft touch heel into this. So again, a different form of micro-suede specifically in the heel pocket to make sure that you have a ton of comfort directly in the back of the shoe. This model does use an Alcantara toe pocket, which is again a different type of micro-suede strategically placed directly on the big toe to a really good custom molding for that part of the foot, and extra sensitivity in the most critical part of a shoe like this is you're doing a lot of the climbing directly on your big toe. So having a little bit more sensitivity on a shoe like this is really critical for sure. This uses our toe power support TPS system, which is basically a fiberglass plate directly underneath the forefoot, and that's the only midsole in the shoe. As you can see, it's very soft underneath the arch, but since this thing is made to climb on steep terrain on small holds, there's certainly going to be a point in that terrain where you can actually stand on a small hold, and if it was really soft, you're not going to get much support. So this uses a TPS system. The only other shoe that we use that system in would be the Boostic, another really stiff and supportive shoe in our line. So really cool, really unique for this particular model. One other update for this Chimera is people are going to notice a difference in the pattern of the holes, the perforations on top of the SRT here. We made the perforations bigger where we kept them, but we actually eliminated some of them. You're going to notice that there's no perforations or these holes around the critical part of the shoe right where it integrates with the outsole. And that's because if there's holes there, it's going to lose its shape, a little bit of deformation. When you're standing on really small holds, you don't want any deflection, any deformity. So we have no holes here at all. Whereas on the top, the outside of the toes, the top of the foot, we added bigger and more perforations. People are sizing this pretty tight. So really soft rubber with these perforations is going to accommodate and allow the foot to be a little bit more comfortable inside of the shoe. Also offers more flexibility overall. So again, if you're trying to toe hook, like pull towards yourself with this shoe, it's going to be easier to bend your toes and do that. Definitely a big update for this particular model. One other big thing, but subtle but really important, is we mentioned the lace garage at the top of the shoe. We also improved them at the bottom of the shoe. These new lace keepers on the first two eyelets down here completely lock the laces into place. They're super stiff so they won't deform. So again, you're really going to be able to crank those down now without any concern of deformity or maybe creasing of material, or the laces maybe slipping out of place if you don't tighten them enough. These really do act as lace keepers, and once you do your tightening, they're not going to get loose until you literally take the shoe off. So a really cool addition there. And we also kept the offset lacing. We want to make sure that we can incorporate as much rubber over the toes as possible, because again, being for modern sport climbing, modern bouldering, there's going to be plenty of times where you're pulling towards yourself just as much as you're pushing away from it. So the new Chimera is going to be priced at $199, for sure one of our highest end shoes. I would say the pinnacle of technology and materials. I would say that every single one of our highest technologies and state-of-the-art materials have been incorporated into this new Chimera, and this will be available this fall. Hopefully in the next month or so, you'll be able to find it at retailers and our website. The Drago has a midsole that's about the size of a guitar pick right here, and it's really soft throughout. So if you're trying to stand on really small holds or something for a long time with the Drago, you got to have some pretty strong feet, right? And it's going to be a little bit harder to do. The Chimera would be for the person that really likes that full rubber coverage, ability to grab at really small holds on steep terrain. But again, when you do stand on small holds, you're going to have that support directly underneath the forefoot because of that TPS, that toe power support that we put right here. Compared to the Boost Stick has a full-length outsole, full-length midsole, so it's going to be a little bit stiffer, so harder to actually grab at smaller holds on steep terrain. The Boost Stick is really good at semi-steep to vertical, really technical terrain, where this would be okay at that, but better at steeper terrain where you are going to be grabbing most of the time, but there are going to be some periods of time where you do need to stand on small holds, if that makes sense. So Drago for steep climbing pretty much all the time. Chimera for steep climbing when you might get into technical terrain and need to stand on small footholds. Boost Stick would be fuller, more support for small holds constantly on more vertical terrain, not necessarily super steep terrain. In our specialized performance category, the Drago is the only one that comes in two different fit options. We have the regular Drago, then we have a Drago LV. And the reason we would say low volume as opposed to a women's version is the difference there is our women's shoes, the only difference is volume, but only in the heel. But if it says low volume, we actually do reduce volume in both here in the heel and the instep right out of the box. So it's two different volume reductions for an LV, whereas a women's version is only one volume reduction. But hopefully we'll see some more LVs in the other specialized performance shoes, because I know I'd love that.